Hey, Sean here, Mountains Garage. If this video looks old and wonky and I gotta run back and forth, it's because my iPhone died. I'm currently trying to restore another one, and I'm shooting it on a very old iPad mini. So I had some stuff I wanted to video today, and we're gonna get it done one way or the other. I'm working on my 72 Nova Twin Turbo LS transmission project. When we left it last time, I was waiting for a B&M deep pan, which showed up. Pieces for my external dump valve I'm going to install. We won't get to that in this video. I'm going to install the Tom Waters Racing Products safety shield over the transmission. A dipstick, an overflow tank, all kinds of stuff. Let's just get to it so I can stop being on an angle, getting a headache. The first thing I did is take an M10 1.5 helicoil kit, took the tap, and ran it down into the hole. I didn't drill the hole or anything. It's already the right size to tap. It's aluminum. It goes easy anyway. And I went down about 3/4 of the way so it would capture the thread insert and it won't fall out of the back. And I cleaned it out and installed it. I do it in this position and I catch the chips down there. That way nothing is going into the transmission. This is a ProForm dipstick. I've given you the part number before and I'll try to again. It's the only one that fits the flex plate shield that I've found. Obviously with this ATI bell housing I don't need to run a flex plate shield, but I already have several of them and I love the way it fits. It fits tight here because in LS the cylinder head is lined right up with the bell housing pretty much. So you need a dipstick that makes a curve right there and stays out of the cylinder head. So the bolt that I used is an LS off a truck motor mount bolt, the one that threads into the block. They're short and stout. They do a great job. Again, M10 1.5. I used to do this 3/8 course, but every other bolt is metric, so why not make that metric as well? So the dipstick is installed. I also went ahead and installed the vent fitting for the overflow catch can. You can see the line running down there. The one I made, I used braided line. This is an ATI tank, and it came with the truck DOT airline, which probably has a temperature rating high enough. That's what they use anyway. And I guess if it got hot and puked, it's only got to do it once, and if it melts the hose, well, you're probably going to notice. But it should not be a regular occurrence of having hot fluid going into your tank, so I was happier with braided. I might change it, but for today, I'm installing what came in the kit, which is pretty rare for me, as you'll see. So when I'm finished in this position, I'm going to flip it on its back so the pan is pointing up. I'm sure it shows in the video that looks like a stripe, but that's a shadow from the overhead LED light I installed. It's great lighting, but it definitely has odd shadows and stuff. So let's flip it over so I can show you my beautiful B&M pan. Isn't it a thing of beauty? I had one of these on my first car. My first car came with one of these, I should say. My 70 Chevelle SS396. And I had the transmission in and out of it a few times, and I became thankful it had a drain plug, because back then I probably ran the fluid through a paint strainer and put it back in because, you know, money was tight. So, as you know, I'm a fastener snob. And I've installed the bolts that came with it, the 5/16 18 by 1 inch. And I have grade 8 gold-plated flange bolts in 5/16. I have it in half, 3/4, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and 1 3/4, but I don't have any 1 inch. So I've ordered some. So I'll change them one at a time afterwards. But for today's activities, I needed the pan to be in place. I like that this pan has a temperature port. I'm hoping when I get the shield stuff installed, it's still accessible. We're going to find out in a minute. That's the ATI overflow tank. I hope I called it ATI earlier. I have a tendency to say AT&T, and they don't make overflow tanks or transmission parts, believe it or not. So again, I've got the pan snug down. I left the 2 bolts off each side because a lot of things go on at the same time. We need to put the shifter bracket over here, along with the bracket for the Tom Waters Performance safety shield, which I feel is the most inexpensive and probably the best shield on the market. They're about $140, where other brands are about $200, and you have to fight them on. I put on a couple of the Tom Waters, and they don't go on bad at all. So I'll be able to install the brackets with the transmission in this position, and then I need to take it off the holder and set it down on the pan on the bench and jockey around. I actually put a piece of wood under the middle because there's straps that got to go underneath, but the transmission holding fixture gets in the way of the shield, so it's kind of cumbersome, but I'm going to do as much as I can right here. Also need to dig out the hardware and instructions for the safety shield, the pan, and I have a winter shifter I'm going to be using, so that's the bracket kit that I have. The B&M pan came with 3 O-rings, and this is a spacer you would use on a stock shallow Turbo 400 pan. And the instructions also say that you can just run the factory Chevy deep pan pickup, which I already had installed in the transmission because I already knew it would fit. I don't think I'd run this with the whole bunch of O-rings, but I don't know. I think the pan is wonderful. It's super expensive. That's junk. I mean, if they made a whole metal pickup tube for the deep pan, that'd be great. But extending the stock short one with a bunch of O-rings seems like you're asking for trouble. So, just my opinion. But I love the pan. I love that it has a port-all tap for my temperature probe. I don't like the hardware. I don't like the extension for the pickup tube. But hey, that's just my opinion. I apologize for the wobbly camera. The iPad is big enough that it magnifies my little movements. So back to my opinion. What is not my opinion, what is fact, is that when you combine several manufacturers of parts in any application, they're probably not going to fit. So, I dug out the Tom Waters brackets. Now, I should back up by saying I had the Tom Waters Turbo 400 shield on the transmission I just removed from the 72 Nova. I had the same dipstick on a stock Bellhausen that I showed you, all bolted on. I can put that right up in the car, complete with the shield, because I had a stock Bellhausen. I had a stock pan that I put a drain plug in, and I bolted the Tom Waters shield directly on. The only thing I did is space the brackets down so they cleared the little lip on the stock pan, and that also moved the shield closer to the transmission, so it gave me more floor clearance. You want the shield as close to the transmission as possible. So I started on the passenger side, and this bracket technically fits the pan. The pan's pretty fat, but that would be okay. I left it loose so I could start these bolts, because the bolts that go through here, these Allen head jobbies, hold not only the shield that goes up over the transmission, but you got brackets that go under the pan, all share the same bolt. You gotta line all that junk up at the same time under the pan, so you got to support the tranny up there. So we were promising that things were going to fit. So I put the passenger side on loosely. Get over here to the driver's side. I installed the winter shift bracket. The way they said, this should angle toward the transmission, and they want this to be inboard. That physically can't happen. So no big deal. Continue on. When you turn this around, it goes over center. Low gear would be way out of whack. So that's low right there. So turn it around, it's way down here. So that's not going to work. But moving on, I had high hopes. The winter's bracket does not use these two bolts. It uses these back here, and it doesn't fit the pan. And the cable itself would run right into the bracket for the shield. And the shield bracket needs to be ground to fit this pan. It won't go in. So even if I got it on, I can't get past second gear because the shift arm runs right into it. I had a turbo action shifter with all this hardware in the Nova. I sold it all, shifter and all. So I know the turbo action works because their bracket flares out this way and everything is outboard of these brackets. So what I'm trying to say is I can make it work, but just for kicks right now, I'm going to get the Transmission Specialties FTI Jegs pan, the 4013. And it's a lot thinner in this area. Let's see if it improves some of my problems. And now would be a good time to contemplate an aftermarket case. If I had a Reed or an ATI case, you don't need the shield, so all you have to deal with is the shifter. Price difference, this shield that I'm trying to put on is $140. An aftermarket case, $1,500 to $1,900, if you can find one. I guess they're getting back in stock, but they were out of stock for a while. Lots of reasons why, but that's not an option today. We're going to continue on. Once in place, the shield will be just fine. Welcome to my outside speed shop. I just unlocked it. There's a lot of stuff in here. I've been organizing. Down the right side is basically all new parts. As promised, this is the part number for the dipstick that I use, a 66-182 Proform. 400 locking dipstick. But I happen to have two of these 4013 pans. So let's take one inside and see how it looks. While I have the pan back off, I should mention I spray everything with rust preventative. Again, I don't know how long it's going to sit before I put oil in it. Or whatever its fate's going to be, I do both sides of the filter. Anything that can rust, because there's nothing more disappointing to take apart something brand new that you got some money into it and find light rust or heavy rust. And also, don't forget, your hot mark on your dipstick should be even with your gasket, pan rail. And this is. So we're good. Let's try the next pan. Well, this is fun while we discover together. You saw there was two of these pans on the shelf. This is the FTI version, the F4013. It has this area non-ribbed that would be for a manufacturer's logo probably. My brackets do fit this pan, unlike the B&M. You see where this is curved, and the whole thing's kind of rough. It comes with the filter tube and O-rings and whatnot. Magnetic drain plug. Well, let's check and see if it's magnetic. Yes, magnetic drain plug. It's okay. And this would fit, and this would work. But curiosity got to me because you saw me install the Jegs pan on the first transmission of this pair that I built for myself. And it's fully ribbed in a really nice pan, and I raved about it. So I went to get the Transmission Specialties pan to see what that looked like. And lo and behold, it is the Jegs pan Transmission Specialties, the 4013, without the F for FTI, but it's fully ribbed. Everything is super sharp and crisp. A much nicer casting. If it fits like the one I put on the other transmission, the twin to this one kind of, the two that I started building together, I guess I'm using this one. It's going to have identical pans because my shield will fit with this, and then I just have to worry about a shifter. Hey, it's me back in awkward positions. Well, this video is already getting kind of long, especially for what it is. I'm going to have to do a part 2 and then a part 3 with the dump valve. So I don't know why I'm holding myself crooked. They could go like this. Maybe if I stand up, you can see me. I don't know. But we're still progressing forward. This is just a typical day dealing with aftermarket parts. My favorite motto, no such thing as a bolt-on part. But we'll keep grinding and modifying and doing everything possible. This is where things go wrong. You see people like show up at a racetrack with a brand new car and they got all kinds of problems. It's all in the details. And the details are fixed here on the bench, not at the racetrack. So that's my advice. I wasn't looking to give out advice. That's 2 videos in a row. Who's going to listen to me anyway? Like, share, subscribe. Do all 3. Comment. I love to hear from you guys. It's awesome. And girls. The 1 or 2 girls that I have out of 2,600 followers. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in a day or 2. Out of here.